Good morning. This is Dr. McDaniel, and today is Wednesday, May 8th. And today, as the wording preluded, I'm going to speak on condylomata. And condylomata is the medical term for genital warts, or what people used to call venereal warts. Condylomata or genital warts are growths in the genital area, usually anywhere from the mons, which is the pubic bone where the hair area starts right below the waist, from the mons all the way to the creases of the thighs, the groins or the inguinal areas, the whole saddle area, all the way up anywhere on the bottom. So anywhere your body would touch the saddle of a horse, if you're seated on a horse, is the genital area, or condylomata or genital warts are most likely or predominantly going to be found. Now, that being said, occasionally someone can have a genital wart or venereal wart in an area that's not in the genital region, and I'll explain that later. Condylomata or warts are sexual infections. They're due to the human papillomavirus, or HPV, and there are over 180 strains of HPV, but around 11 of them are considered what we call low-risk strains. Now, they're called low risk because relative to cancer of that area, they present a low risk, not a zero risk, but a low risk of someone developing cancer from that viral infection. Now, HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a sexual infection. Sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. I have allergies. Is a sexual infection, and it's spread by either skin-to-skin contact of genitalia to genitalia, or the infected area, and or body fluids that contain the virus. If someone has contact with another person who is actively shedding or contagious for HPV, and it's one of those 11 strains, then they are more likely to get that infection, and if they have a manifestation of it, that manifestation will be benign genital warts if it's one of the 11 low-risk strains of HPV. Now, not everyone who has HPV or even one of the 11 low-risk strains will develop genital warts. And that's because just because someone has the virus doesn't mean that it's going to have full manifestation. It's dependent on your immune system. So HPV is what we call an opportunistic infection, which means it takes advantage of a situation, that situation being your immune system. So if your immune system is compromised, weakened, destroyed, or depressed, then the virus, if someone has it, will become more active. If it's active and replicating, then it can cause symptoms. For the low-risk strains of HPV, those symptoms will be genital warts. However, if your immune system is strong, it's able to suppress the virus. And if the virus is suppressed, it can't cause symptoms and it cannot be passed on. It'll suppress the activity so that it's no longer shedding, and if it's not shedding, then it's not, that person's not contagious, and they can't pass that infection to another person. Now, condylomata or genital warts can have a variety of appearances. They are growths, so most people will notice if they have condylomata that they have a bump, or a skin tag, they'll think, or a lump on the skin, and it can be a smooth, flesh-colored appearance, and the bump can be small. It can be the size of a pinpoint, or it can grow. It can grow quite large, to the size of a thumb for some people, or at least a thumbnail, and it cannot just be smooth. More classically, they'll be shaggy and rough in appearance. If you take a Q-tip or a toothpick or your nail and rub it across the growth, it'll be a scratchy, firm, crunchy type of sensation. So it can be quite rough. It can look like mountain peaks. So not only can they be smooth, but they can have projections, or it looks like finger little projections. They can also not just be flesh colored, they more often or more classically will have an ashen look to them. So they'll be pale white or an ashen gray discoloration to them. Regardless, they can come as single growths or in patches or in clusters or scattered randomly throughout the genital area. So wherever that viral contact occurred is where the viral activity will stay. And wherever the viral activity is positioned, if the immune system is compromised, the virus becomes active, then it can cause growths of condylomata or genital warts in those regions. Now, if someone has a genital wart, that wart is actively producing the virus. So they are highly contagious if they have a wart or a growth. If they don't have a wart or a growth, then they're variably contagious because the virus can potentially be active and shed or cause them to be contagious when the immune system is compromised, and they may not be showing any evidence of it, so they may not have a growth. That's called asymptomatic shedding. So with asymptomatic shedding, that's how most people who get genital warts or the virus HPV that causes warts, that's how most people get those warts, because the person that they're sexually or physically involved with at the time doesn't look like anything's going on. So when someone has HPV, they may or may not be contagious, and they may or may not have genital warts. If they have warts, that's always a manifestation of a compromised immune system. Now, medically, we don't have any test to determine if someone is actively shedding at the time or if that growth that they have present is a wart. We used to, and that was the HPV GYN test. This was it came out around 1997, 1998, and the labs stopped making that viral culture available to medical offices feels like around 6 years ago or so. There was a viral swab. It was a little brush, looked like a large pipe cleaner, and we would rub that on a growth or on an area where someone was concerned they had tingling or they were worried that they had HPV or warts or something. We'd just rub that brush on the skin in the area of concern, and the lab was able to run a culture to see if at the time that we obtained that brush sample, if that person had active shedding of HPV, either the 11 low risk or the 14 high risk strains is what the culture would determine. For whatever reasons, I believe it was monetary because the insurance plan stopped paying for a lot of those tests, but for whatever reasons, they took it off the market, so it's no longer available for us. That being said, the only way to confirm that someone's growth is due to HPV and that it's a benign genital wart or condylomata versus a genital wart that has precancer changes or very early cancer in it is to remove the growth. Otherwise, we don't have any other way to test except to eyeball it and say it looks like a wart, but we don't have any definitive measurements except to remove it, send it to the laboratory, and the pathology lab will confirm what the nature of the growth is and if it has viral activity, because they will tell us what the growth is. They'll say it's either a benign condylomata, genital wart, or they'll say that it has precancer changes, or they'll say that it has very early or frank cancer carcinoma. They will also be able to do a viral culture if requested to see if that growth, if it has HPV and which strains of HPV are actively shedding or replicating. So this is the first of potentially 2, possibly 3, depends on how long I talk, presentations on condylomata, venereal warts, genital warts. Thank you for watching. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. Please check out the YouTube channel that I also started. It's GYN Corner on YouTube. I hope everyone has a great day. See you tomorrow, Thursday, which some of my patients call Friday Junior. Have a good rest of the day.